during the Sing Live.
Into what we practice today. Most of the old carols were written between 1400 and 1647, when the Puritans banned Christmas and other festivals altogether. The folk carols went underground and were revived again in the 1800s. On Christmas Eve in 1818, an Austrian priest, Joseph Moore, and the church organist wrote a Christmas classic, Silent Night, and performed it for the first time that night at midnight mass. Another favorite, All Holy Night, by French composer Adolphe Adams, was first performed at midnight mass in 1847. The English were the first to start caroling in the 1800s, with outdoor singers known as waits going door to door, spreading their Christmas cheer. There are many non-religious Christmas carols, such as Irving Berlin's White Christmas, John Lennon, So This Is Christmas, and the Irish Rovers' Grandma Got Run Over by a Reindeer. Shows the art of Christmas songwriting has perhaps changed a little, but is still a very important part of this joyous season. So let's go outside to Dan and George for the start of Fort Macleod's 8th annual Santa Claus Parade.
Thank you, Gerard. A terrific job at introducing our parade, and you're going to be hearing a lot of music today because, of course, our theme is the music of Christmas. And, you know, they say, George, that imitation is the sincerest form of flattery. I know that Calgary's having a Santa Claus parade this year. Some other communities in Western Canada are, but this is where it all started, west of Toronto.
Yes, and Dan, it's good to be back with you, and hope we're going to have a great parade. We've got entries around between 70 and 80, and the forecast is for a great day. Let's hope it turns out that way.
Well, I don't know about that because our forecast called for sunshine and real warmth. We were talking like 14, 15 degrees of warmth today. Looking at the sky, I don't think we're going to reach that, and it doesn't also look like we're going to have any sunshine, but we are getting the wind. Hopefully by the time the parade gets started and gets about halfway through, the wind will die down. However, you know, southern Alberta, and if the wind is like this at the start of the parade, it's probably going to be like this for the whole parade, so pull your chin straps down and tighten them up and get ready for the Santa Claus parade. And of course, we have had some parades in the past that have been very windy and very cold. Hopefully today is going to be very warm. Now, our sponsors of the Fort Macleod Santa Claus Parade include the Village Greenery and Gifts, Alberta Hardware and Variety, Muffins and More Tea Room, the Fort Macleod Late Night Shopping Committee, the Photo Plus Camera, Reach and Company, Hodnett's IDA Pharmacy, Skoogle's RV Center, the Scarlet and Gold Inn, Moreski Jewelers, and Your Style. And you know, George, we're going to have some surprises today. We've had 2 or 3 of our entries who have not revealed what their floats are going to be all about.
So we'll just have to wait and see what they're going to be. And the banks, banking institutions and the health units have been the ones who've kept them most secret, and we look forward to them each year.
All right, stand by because we're going to let the parade begin. Here's the color party and the cadets, and these are 4 groups of cadets with the Sea Cadet Band, and these are cadets from all around southern Alberta. There's over 100 of these young men and women from Fort Macleod and the Lethbridge area, and these young people are known for their community involvement, and the programs are based on military-type discipline, and they're an excellent program for youngsters, and the benefits are so very numerous, George.
Oh, yes, and look, they're always turned out so smartly, and listen to that music.
This is the Army cadets parading in front of us right now. And they're the Lethbridge Artillery Unit. And right behind them, the Sea Cadets Band. There you see the Air Cadets on the monitor. And right behind that, the VIP vehicle. That's towing the town of Fort Macleod float. We'll see the Honorable Leroy Fjordbotn giving a wave right there. He's the Minister of Forestry, Lands and Wildlife. And also on the float, Mr. Ken Hughes, the MP for Macleod constituency, and the new mayor, Terry Lyon of Fort Macleod. And right behind them, the riders from the Fort Mounted Patrol Escort and the VIP vehicle and the float. And of course, there's two of the riders and two more in their historic buffalo coats. And that, of course, was the Northwest Mounted Police uniform back in the days of when they were known as the Northwest Mounted Police, George.
And
isn't that sharp?
Yeah, and the Mounted Patrol have performed through July and August each year since 1957.
Says, I'm dreaming of a white Christmas. That's the Sunshine Kids Daycare. And they were established in 1981 to provide care for up to 35 children aged 19 months to 6 years. And for working parents, those daycare places are really essential.
A real theme of...
How could you get by without them? Here's the Block Parents Association. And this organization, through placards placed in windows and homes throughout the community, ensures that a child in difficulty will have a safe home to go to, not only in times of danger, but when the children are lost or just frightened, or especially when they're injured and they need someplace to turn to.
And they're just homes that don't necessarily have children of their own, but they have the Block Parents sign in their window.
Now, here's the G.R. Davis School Band, grade 6 and grade 7 students from G.R. Davis School Band under bandmaster Rick Bullock. And what a terrific opportunity for young people to get started with music. And that's an opportunity that I know older generations just didn't have.
No, we never did anything like that in school.
Isn't that something? They start off, of course, learning about their instruments, and then get to be accomplished musicians, and maybe one day some of those youngsters could even be playing with the Lethbridge Big Band or in their own band.
And here's my church, the Trinity United Church float. This year the Trinity Choir has entered the float to go along with the theme, the music of Christmas.
And there they are. Now, are they really playing that violin, or just kind of simulating it in this weather?
I think they're simulating it, Dan.
Nicely decorated float, though. And there's some of the crowd that's gathered here for the Fort Macleod Santa Claus Parade, a crowd that gathers every year. This is the Salvation Army. And, of course, the Army strives to serve all mankind, regardless of race, creed, or color. And they're always there in times of need, and they're really associated with Christmas because of their kettle campaign, and they never turn anyone away, and they're always the first to help in times of crisis and in times of need. There's a group of youngsters who are enjoying the parade. Wow. And they're dressed warmly for it, too, even though the forecast was for some very, very warm weather today. You see the youngsters with the toques on. And there, that gives you an even better idea of the crowd that's gathered alongside. Here's the Shriners. They're a group of men who combine having fun with the doing of good works. Children's hospitals across Canada attest to their good works.
Their very name is associated with parades across the country, and their good deeds often go overlooked because of their popularity in that area.
Oh, there's the Shriners. How many parades have you ever seen with the Shriners not in it? I can't recall one.
I don't think we've ever had one here without them.
A young smiling face.
She's not too sure about the camera on her.
There she is, waving at the camera. And you notice everybody along the parade route is dressed warmly. I guess people in southern Alberta just know that despite the forecast saying it's going to be 16 or 17 degrees, dress warmly anyway.
And Dan, of course, several of the people around the parade this morning have been giving you a bad time because you're with the weather at 2 and 7.
And more of the Shriners, and more of the other characters, the clowns, and the people who are involved in every one of the parades. And I think that's part of the Hodnett's Pharmacy group of people who are right behind them there. Phil and Edie recently enlarged their store, and they're represented by the Moses Clowns, Vicky, Melissa, and Janine, a regular part of the Fort Macleod Santa Claus Parade. And of course, there you go, a couple of notes representing the music of Christmas, and that's what the theme of today's parade is all about.
All dressed up.
While we've got a break in the parade, we have to give a special thank you to Dave Coots and the staff over at the Scarlet and Gold restaurant, because they always treat our staff and our broadcast crew and the Legion Pipe Band, who are involved every year, to a very terrific dinner after the parade's over, and we always get that special Dave Coots roast beef. So Dave, thank you very much for treating our broadcast crew.
Just going by a minute ago was Your Style. It's a new ladies' clothing store which opened in August this year. Quality at reasonable prices.
Here's the Fort Macleod Healthcare Center Staff Club. Last summer, 2 of the hospital staff were discussing ideas for this year's parade, and I'll let you pick up on that, George, and talk a little bit more about that.
Well, shortly thereafter, one of the 2 was tragically killed in a multi-vehicle accident. The float created by the staff is respectively dedicated to the memory of Carol Matlock. A bursary has been set up to provide scholarships for future hospital staff in Carol's name. Please support it.
Fort Macleod Healthcare Center Staff Club float. And I know Carol Matlock is missed greatly by the people of Fort Macleod.
She was a very well-known young person, and you'll see there in the memory of Carol. And the old-fashioned gramophone on that float, and that's the kind that I grew up with, I guess, with a crank on the side.
His master's voice.
That's right.
Isn't that what was on all of those old gramophones?
That's right.
The old RCA theme?
A terrier dog in top.
Fort Value Drug Mart. Just going by our camera location, and that's with the new owner, Ken Harris, continued the McKay dedication of entering a decorated car in the parade every year.
And we kind of guessed that Eileen Mackay still may have had a hand in the decoration.
And there you see the Treasury Branch float, of course, with Frosty the Snowman on it. They're celebrating 26 years in Fort Macleod and 50 years in Alberta, and the floats from the banking and healthcare institutions are well-kept secrets, which now we can enjoy in the parade. We didn't know what their float was going to be.
Oh, excellent. Just coming now, I think, into our camera range is the Fort Macleod and Fish and Game Association. And this association is holding its 25th anniversary banquet and dance in March of 1990. It sends its thanks to all for their support.
And of course, most hunters and fishermen owe their hobby or sport to the involvement of associations of this kind, and they're dedicated not only to the preservation of wildlife and programs that promote cooperation with landowners, but they're also at the forefront of hunter safety programs, and they're also lobbying for support of legislation to improve hunting and fishing. So I think the hunters and fishermen of the area owe a debt of gratitude to the Fish and Game Association of Fort Macleod. And of course, more of our riders, and what would a parade in southern Alberta be without our riding entries. And you know, that one on the right-hand side there, that's my favorite kind of horse,
right.
the Palomino with that white mane and the white tail. I guess that's from growing up watching those old Roy Rogers and Gene Autry movies. And Roy Rogers always had, of course, Trigger, the beautiful horse with that kind of a tan look to him, the beautiful sort of a golden
color horse.
Golden color horse with that white mane. Wow. Children enjoying the parade, of course, and
aren't you a sweet little angel here?
Yeah, well, I bet there's times when Mum would not wholly agree with that. That's probably Mum in the background there. That's the Macleod Shell 88. Brian Bergen purchased the business in 1985, and in 1988, his mum Lona purchased a share of the operation. And of course, they're going to be one of the service stations across the country that will be totally unleaded by 1990. And you can see that it says on the side, the move is on to unleaded gasolines, and I'm sure you've seen the ads right here in 2 and 7 for unleaded gas. I can't believe how the crowds gather every year. George, you were telling a story before the parade got started of how they block the streets off and traffic coming in and out of town. Well, actually coming into town, because nobody's leaving, everybody's coming in for the parade.
Just a lot of work gone into that float, that decorated van.
I wonder how many of those little rosettes are on there. Maybe we should have a contest to guess the number of rosettes and win a coffee time with George Bannerman.
Okay. Here's Job's Daughters, Bethel number 3. This organization for girls 11 to 21 whose fathers are Masons. They're involved in citizenship programs and perform many good deeds for the community.
There's that same car we were just talking about. I'll say 468 of those rosettes.
Well, my first guess was about 550. So, oh, and look at the Job's Daughters float has musical notes in the theme of music of Christmas.
And of course, once you establish a theme for a parade, then all of the entries in the parade have to be notified of what the theme is, and then everybody gets involved. I just want to take a moment here while we're looking at the Alpha Milk Float. This is Archie, or I'm sorry, Alfie.
Yeah.
That's the Alfie character, and he's the local representative of this cooperatively owned operation. I want to give a thank you to the Alpha Corporation in Lethbridge for a little-known thing that many people probably don't even remember. Back in about 1980, some members of Channels 2 and 7 got together. There was a Lethbridge JC-sponsored raft race down the Old Man River from Indian Battle Park, and we went to Alpha Milk and got a whole bunch of Alpha Milk cartons. They were already sealed, but they were empty, so they had air inside. We put chicken wire around them, we made our own raft, and we came in second in the race. Of course, people will tell you there were only 2 entries in the race, but we came in second in the race, and they floated like a charm. It was unbelievable.
Isn't that a great story?
But thank you to the Alpha Milk Company for, that was 8 years ago, and we've never really properly thanked them in all this time.
And here's the town of Grantham, I believe, Dan, and this is our friendly neighbor to the north, and always supportive of community affairs and community activities in Fort Macleod.
And you know that youngsters who we just got a look at there, are always very eager to jump at the chance to be on a float. It doesn't matter whether the parade's in the middle of winter like ours is. Well, actually, we're not in winter yet, but you know, whether it's this time of year, whether it's summertime, they're always ready to just jump right in. Another one of the floats that has, of course, our native people in it, and every time we have something like this in southern Alberta, whether it's summertime or a wintertime parade, of course, we get the native representation, and look at the colors involved.
And the beautiful costumes. The beadwork is just beautiful.
But those headdresses, you know, I think that's what the native associations around North America are noted for, is those colorful headdresses. And here are the antique cars from the Southern Alberta Antique Car Club, and our opportunity to enjoy the automobile beauties of yesteryear. And the care taken by these owners and members of the club to restore these old beauties is immense. And you know, the cost involved is usually more in man-hours than in dollars spent, because they're preserving them for future generations, and of course to invoke memories in those who actually experienced them at the time. And there, of course, is somebody who's known all around North America, the great Root Bear.
Yes, and this is the first A&W to be opened in Canada in 1955, was opened in Fort Macleod. And the earliest sighting of the great root bear in the vicinity of Great Bear Lake, Northwest Territories. Polar bears are also seen there, but never with orange sweaters and snappy hats.
And how many of us remember the original A&Ws back in the late 50s and early 60s when, of course, they were the original drive-ins. You'd pull up and they had this new thing called a speaker that you could give your order into, and you never had to leave your car, and a car hop would come out and bring your order right to you. Wow, that goes back a lot of years.
Yes,
and you know, those kind of drive-ins are few and far between today. They're really phasing them out.
Yes, you can drive through, but you don't have people come out with car hops.
Look at those beautiful antique cars.
Yeah, there's a man looking out very happy with his, and I can't pick out the year of that one.
It looks like about a 56 Buick. Buick Pontiac, something like that, 56, 57.
Yeah, about that range.
Imagine the number of coats of lacquer that they put on these old cars just to get them, you know, even looking like they did back in the old days. Beautiful, beautiful collection.
The only air conditioning you had in those days, Dan, is when you opened the windows. Some of those early ones didn't even have heaters.
Oh, that one. That looks like something you'd see from one of those old Al Capone gangster movies.
That's right. Fancy airflow car.
That's probably late 30s, early 40s.
I think so. There's the gentleman really enjoying it.
Look at the rapt attention as he watches these old beauties go by.
That looks
now,
like
that's probably more your era, George.
That's right. Looks like a Model A, or about that. No, maybe it isn't, but it's of that era.
AT, something like that. I think they only made 2 makes of cars back in those days. There were Fords and there were Chevs, and I can't remember which were T's and which were A's and why they were called that, but...
No, and Henry Ford used to say that you can have any color you want as long as it's black.
And I think the people who restore these cars probably get more enjoyment out of them than anybody else. And of course, that's the main reason that they go to such lengths and put such work into them. And I think my grandfather used to have an old truck just like that green one that was just on the screen there a moment ago.
Oh, here we come. This is one of the high spots in our parade, Dan, the McGrath Marching Band.
The Spirit of Alberta Marching Band, invited to the Holiday Bowl in San Diego in 1987, where they won 2nd place honors, and Jerry Chatwin is their leader. And this is a volunteer organization who raised their own funds to travel to events and parades across North America. And we hope that as they get closer to our broadcast location here, we're going to just kind of clam up and let them do their thing for us. And maybe we'll get them to play a little bit of music and entertain the crowd.
It looks like the instruments are coming up on the ready.
Okay, we'll give you a chance to enjoy the McGrath Spirit of Alberta Marching Band. Well, George, I know that you prefer pipe bands. Nothing against pipe bands, but give me a good old brass marching band any day.
Aren't they wonderful? Well, I think coming up, Dan, is the Remington Carriage and Riders, and this is our first time we've had honorary parade marshals for our parade, and we're honoring 2 people, Joe Croshoe, who had the Citation Citizenship Award, and Hugh Craig, the Order of Canada. And they have outriders with them as well. And the driver, Mr. and Mrs. Olson, and also aboard Mrs. Josephine Croshoe and Ann Craig, and the riders Robin Lawless, Reg Croshoe, Leopard, and Patrick Provo, who is a counselor.
And you notice, of course, that those Remington carriages had wheels on and not the sleighs or the, what do they call them, the runners?
Runners on them.
The runners, because of course, the fact that there is no snow around southern Alberta right now because of our beautiful Chinooks.
And a real part of our tradition of our town now is the 2nd Fort Macleod Boy Scouts with their nativity scene. And it's usually held near the Scout Hall just before Christmas. Plan to take
I think there's a little bit of curiosity there on the part of the animal for that camera, wondering, what the heck is that thing they're pointing in my direction?
Yeah, I think they have a new donkey. I just heard in our paper that the donkey they had last year had passed away, and I don't know, old age or something, but they've got someone new there this year.
And of course, she took your cue there, George, and gave the donkey a pat on the nose. Now, that's a neat float. I like that. Anytime you can involve children with animals, you've got a winner.
Beautiful.
Here is the Knights of Columbus, number 5089 float, a Roman Catholic Service Club for men, and the local chapter was organized 28 years ago, and again, this promotes the theme, Keep Christ in Christmas. And too often we lose sight of the fact of what Christmas is all about, and we get involved in buying gifts and receiving gifts and the stores with their commercialization, and a lot of people really forget the whole reason that we have Christmas. Coming up behind that, the Chinook Health Unit. And of course, this unit supplies many services over much of the area. And again, this was another one of those secret floats. And we told you earlier about that we were going to have some surprises in today's parade. Well, this was one of it. The old hut, the old log hut. And it looks like that. You know, it actually looks on camera like that is snow up top there.
Well, that's right.
And of course, the theme of their float is "I'll be home for Christmas."
And right
I'm sure
behind
that many people are making plans for that right now.
Right behind it, we have some riders coming into view, I believe, Dan. James Eaglechild, Morton Eaglespeaker, with native costumes.
And also Mike Dagenstein.
Yeah.
Merry Christmas!
And this is the Cook County Saloon float. And it says on the side they were voted Canada's #1 country club. As you can read for yourself, of course. And they've got the theme of the old cowboy Christmas going there with their music, of course, which is part of our theme, the music of Christmas. Horses, Southern Alberta, and parades, hey? All goes together. And you certainly will have a holly jolly Christmas with these people around. Look at that Jack-in-the-Box. Isn't that a unique idea? I really like that.
That's creative and inventive.
And it says on the side it's a Tonka toy.
And that's the one's tough enough that a youngster can't break. Yeah. Coming up.
Here's the Royal Canadian Legion, an organization which looks after the needs of war veterans all over Canada. And of course, their main job, their main dedication is to keep Remembrance Day alive, but they do so many other things that actually just becomes one small, minuscule part of their operation, George.
And through their Legion bus in our town, they allow seniors to get out to outings that they wouldn't otherwise get.
They're not only involved in seniors programs, they're involved in all kinds of youth programs and public speaking groups, and they give awards to public speakers from across the country to young children. And their theme, of course, is Frosty the Snowman. And that is a very nice float. I like that. Canadian Imperial Bank of Commerce float right in behind it. And, you know, when you talk about historic Fort Macleod, well, this bank was established here in 1905 and moved into their newer and larger quarters at the foot of Main Street in 1989. So they've certainly been around for a long time, 84 years to be exact. Look at those beautiful dogs. I'm a dog lover, George, so pardon me if I drool all over the place here, because when I see dogs that are as nice as that, and dogs that have been as well cared for as those, I get all sentimental. Look at those beauties.
Oh, yes, they're... Look at that one, how well trained it is. Just taking its time.
Yeah. Looks like, almost looks like an Irish or an elk hound.
That's right, I'm not...
That one right there.
Canine course, isn't it beauty?
They're gorgeous.
Look at look at that.
Look at the bow on them.
Yeah.
And look at the sweater with the German Shepherd on the sweater. I think that's terrific.
Yeah, this is...
Now this is Dog Packs. It's called Dog Stuff, and it's a firm from Coaldale which produces packs for dogs. And of course, that's a really neat idea, you know, especially if you have youngsters who are taking their dogs to places, you know, like say going to the store or whatever, and the dogs can carry all the packs. What a gorgeous, gorgeous dog.
Look at that panda sitting on top. That's...
What a neat idea. Coming into view now, the 4-H clubs of Southern Alberta and the 4-H clubs of the Fort Macleod area who went together to show how the 4-H clubs have fun in a winter wonderland.
There are the four of them: the Macleod Beef Club 4-H, the Macleod Midnight Riders 4-H, Macleod Multi-Purpose Oilers and Flames 4-H, and the Granham Sewing 4-H. Fine young people.
And Oilers and Flames 4-H. Now I think that's carrying it a little too far. Well, I guess they couldn't quite decide which team to cheer for.
So they got both of them. It keeps everybody happy.
4-H clubs. Now, we've talked about all of our service clubs and how the Legion and all those other groups do so much good for people in southern Alberta. Well, 4-Hers, and I know that a lot of the people even watching this parade are former 4-Hers or people who are still involved in 4-H. Now, these people do a lot of good for the community.
One of the things they do, Dan, is that each year they go along and help clean the litter from our highways, and it's one of the big operations every fall.
But the youngsters, the children's service programs that they get involved in, everything from learning how to take care of animals to learning how to be farmers at a very early age.
That's right.
And everything from, as you said earlier, from sewing to riding and looking after farm equipment, along with cooking and all the other housekeeping ideas.
How are you guys doing this afternoon? Merry Christmas. Oh, that's
There's Easy AM from Tabor,
How you guys
1570.
doing today?
And they just recently changed over from country and western to easy listening and gaining popularity very fast in southern Alberta.
Nice to have them here too, Dan.
Look at that pole. Now,
Whoa.
that gives you an idea of what the wind is doing here this morning, because it was supposed to be windy today. That's one thing that the forecast did hit right, but it was also supposed to be sunny and very, very warm, and that didn't quite turn out the way it was supposed to be.
It hasn't stopped the people enjoying the parade. I think
Does it ever, though, here in
No.
Fort Macleod? There
Yeah.
you get a good idea of the light poles in Fort Macleod weaving back and forth. Now, it seems like no matter what the weather's been, we always get a good response.
Oh.
And down through the years, we've had 1985 where it was like -20, and it was cold, and there was snow on the ground, and people still turn out for the parade. Last year, remember how nice and warm it was last year? And, of course, we had probably our biggest crowd ever.
Here's the Clarence Knowlton Band. This is the oldest float from the Pagan Nation. The club was started over 50 years ago, and the band over 45 years. Travels all over. Clarence's family have been in the band for 20 years. It's very special to have them each year with us.
And another unique idea for a float. Look at the little Santa Clauses up there. Let's have a listen to them. Coming into view now, Greyhound bus lines float. And you get an idea of what a 1940 Greyhound type bus looked like. That's being handled by Ruth Avery. This is Greyhound's 60th year, and that's why they're bringing us this remembrance of days gone by. And in behind it, of course, is a new state-of-the-art Greyhound bus, one of those ones with stereo and all the modern conveniences. I don't know, I kind of prefer the old style. It says Central Canadian Greyhound Lines in the old bus there, and I guess that brings back a lot of memories to a lot of people around southern Alberta.
Greyhound were hoping that they could fly a hot air balloon today, but I think the wind has been too strong, so it'll have to be another time.
And a reminder, while you're in Fort Macleod, stop in at the bus depot to enter their 60th anniversary contest. There's no purchase necessary, and they have some very terrific prizes. And congratulations to Greyhound on 60 years of service in Western Canada and for being part of our parade today. And I know that you're probably like a lot of other people, George, and you've spent a great many of your days traveling in the old Greyhound buses.
They were the one way to get around, and they covered the whole country long before there were many motor cars. And
Here are the grads of 1990.
These are our future leaders from F.P. Walsh High School, and we wish them well, and fine young people who are just about ready to step into the real world.
Now, are these not also the people who help to clean up the town of Fort Macleod after the parade's over and after Halloween? And
Yes, they've done that, and I don't know if they've done it this year or not, but they have done things like that to earn money for their final graduation, and interest in helping themselves, not just asking.
And they're also involved in the Safe Grad programs.
Yes, where at graduation night they don't drive themselves, and they are people that will take them in and home and back and forth, so there's no accident.
And there are some of the other volunteers of today's parade.
Here's his and her hairstyles. It's a new owner, Angela Hatton, a unisex hair design.
And look what what she's fixing Andy's hair with there.
My goodness. I hope the scissors don't slip.
Those look more like wire snips to me.
Yeah. Isn't that great? The costume and everything.
Raggedy Ann and Raggedy Andy. Now Macleod Savings and Credit Union. They've been serving the southern Alberta and Fort Macleod area since 1941. And that looks like one of those little cherry blossoms, or maybe even a plum pudding. And I think that's probably what it's supposed to be. Another one of the secret floats of today's parade. And of course, the local manager of Macleod Savings and Credit Union is Doran Dagenstein, who's been involved in many community events in southern Alberta down through the years.
And our Chamber of Commerce as well, too.
I think that's a neat idea.
Isn't it? They want a lot of work that's gone into this, and they're not blowing off either.
There's a youngster who's entranced with the idea of a traveling Christmas pudding.
Somebody just spilled their candy.
Here comes the Heritage Trail Riders. And another one of our horse-drawn entries today.
They're planning a trail ride from Fort Walsh to Coots in 1990 to celebrate Coots' 100th anniversary on the 16th of June, 1990.
This is Toyland. And of course, our Toyland float has all kinds of decorations which are part of the celebration of Christmas. And I think what every kid dreams of are toys like that, the stuffed variety. This is part of the Canadian Western Natural Gas float. They've been serving southern Alberta for 75 years. Hard to believe they've been around that long.
Keeping us warm when the Chinooks don't blow.
Babes in Toyland is right. And a Merry Christmas to you, too. Here's the Fort Macleod Fire Department float. Volunteers who risk their lives to keep us safe. And up on top you can see Santa and the reindeers. That's what it's all about. If you're anywhere between, well, I guess if you're any, younger than 90, Santa Claus is still pretty important. And I think the front one is the older style fire unit. That's the kind they used to have back in the days when I was a kid. And then right in behind it, of course, the brand new unit from the Fort Macleod Fire Department. Isn't that shiny? Boy, if you were about 7 or 8 years old, wouldn't you like to have a model of that, George?
I'd just sure like to have a ride in it, too. There's somebody lucky enough to be doing so. I think here comes George Brown and Claypool families, and these George Brown is particularly noted for his work with the mounted patrol in the summertime at the museum. He's always looked after the horses to make sure that our riders have the best horses available. And it's a Merry Christmas from George Brown and family. And I believe there's 4 of the Claypool family here as well, out from the...
And the Horse and Harness Club right in behind him with that's another one of our regular entries, and they've got 4 or 5 of those horse-drawn carriages. And also in this group of horse-drawn riders, we've got Eddie Bad Eagle Sr. and the Sundance Lodge horse-drawn music group. And this group has been in the Santa Claus Parade since it began 8 years ago, and it's sure nice to have them back every year. Such beautiful horses and so well looked after. And a nostalgic item for people who remember the old horse and buggy days. I'm not sure that very many of our younger people or younger viewers here today even remember what it was like to have horse-drawn carriages. That's the camera expert, And this is the largest camera in Canada, or so they claim. It's 5.5 feet long, 3 feet wide, and 4.5 feet high. You wouldn't want to be lugging this around. You know, that's not what you'd exactly call a portable.
Not to take snapshots of just the moving action anyway. And somebody's there looking after it.
But the detail on that is really something.
I believe this is the Auntie Donna's smoked turkey out here on North and Number 2 Highway. If you've been driving that way at night and seen their beautiful new fluorescent sign, which is a real eye catcher. And the turkey is great too.
Here's our minor hockey float. Oh, okay, there's Auntie Donna's float still. Now the minor hockey float, dedicated to the mums and dads who coach and who provide transportation and equipment for these future NHL stars. And it makes you wonder, George, as you look at this picture, how many of these youngsters are going to someday be in the National Hockey League, or maybe even playing for Canada's national team, and looking back on this day and saying, yeah, I remember being in that Fort Macleod Santa Claus parade. And imagine the number of hours that go into the training of these youngsters on behalf of the parents and the coaches. The coaches do so much work, but the parents who have to get up on Saturday mornings bright and early and drive them to their practices and drive them late in the evenings back and forth from practices. I think it's the parents that really deserve
They're the
big
dedicated
salute
ones
today. And of course, Pyramid Entertainment, providing entertainment for Southern Albertans, and that's Rax. Rax Restaurant, a new business in Lethbridge. Nice to have them in our Southern Alberta Fort Macleod Santa Claus parade.
And here with the third wave workout, and these are the most energetic group, I believe, in our town. Sure demonstrates fitness. This 6-year-old group has you can get aerobics and weight training, but they do this through the whole parade, Dan.
Well, let's give a listen to them and just see how long they can keep this up. Well, that's enough. I was getting tired already anyway. Here's the Fort Macleod Skating Club. And of course, they are another one of our regular guests in the Fort Macleod Santa Claus parade. And their club is 28 years old, and they'll be holding their carnival on the 24th of March, 1990, to celebrate their 28 years in the Fort Macleod area. And they hope to see a lot of you there.
I understand there's one senior in the figure skating club, and I don't know who the name is, but that was part of the promotion.
They're probably waiting for you to come back out there, George.
I don't know if it's a little late, I think.
There's another one of those little vehicles that we have on the parade every year. And what would a parade be without them? There's those young future skaters.
Elizabeth Manley's.
Oh, wow.
Wasn't that a thrill? And now coming along is Neen's Plants, and this Eileen Reach, who lives down south of town, had a gardening hobby which turned into a full-scale nursery. And is she ever having fun? And there's a doggy in our picture right now, all wrapped up. Look at Neen's Plants there. Isn't that great?
A little portable greenhouse. Isn't that a neat idea?
Yeah, self-propelled, I think.
Now, if somebody, if you were thinking conservation-wise and thinking about the ecology, of course, the exhaust, you'd figure out a way to get the exhaust from that engine channeled back in to provide the heat and take out all the poisonous gases out of it, and that would be keeping your plants growing. I'm sure there's some budding scientists in our parade route today who are already thinking of a way to do that. And of course, the Royal Canadian Legion, the General Stewart branch from Lethbridge.
What a beautiful float.
And their theme, in the center of things. In behind them, you can hear them already, George's favorite kind of music, the Lethbridge Legion Pipe Band. There they are. The pipes have preceded Santa in every parade but one in our history.
And that was that terrible cold years, and they just couldn't face it with bare knees. But they've been very much a part of our town and parade.
Well, we'll keep you in suspense for just a few more minutes while you watch the pipe band. Now, of course, George, you know what's next. As in every year, how do we end the Santa Claus parade with the old jolly fat man himself?
And look at him standing up there waving to all the children. This is a thrill. I can remember what a thrill it was to see him. And it's still a thrill.
See you back again in
I wonder how many of the youngsters have put together the idea that Santa Claus is here and will be back in some 24 days, actually some, what is it now, 16 days from now. And there's the town crier again, ending the parade.
Telling us it's all over for this year.
That's Ken Hart.
Yes, that's Ken Hart.
He's been the town crier for 4 years now, a fine singer and a senior faculty member at Lethbridge Community College for over 25 years. And in the days before radio and television, that's how people got the news. And that concludes another exciting Fort Macleod Santa Claus parade. Santa Claus, of course, bringing up the rear, but certainly the most important part of the parade every year. Well, what we had hoped for didn't materialize. The wind stayed up. It didn't get any warmer, but the enthusiasm of the people in the parade and on the sidelines made up for the lack of warmth. We'd like to give a special thank you to all the volunteers who helped to put today's parade together, and our sponsors who helped to bring you today's Santa Claus parade from Fort Macleod. Those sponsors include the Village Greenery and Gift, Alberta Hardware and Variety, Muffins and More Tea Room, Photos by Sharon. Photos by Sharon, of course, one of our very important sponsors. Fort Macleod Late Night Shopping Committee, the Photo Plus Camera, Reach & Company, Hodnett's IDA Pharmacy, Skoogle's RV Center, the Scarlet and Gold Inn, Moreski Jewelers, and Your Style. And a special thank you to you, George Bannerman, for compiling all the information for today's parade and your insightful comments. And thank you for joining us for today's Fort Macleod Santa Claus Parade. On behalf of Channels 2 and 7, a Merry Christmas to all of you.